Hello, hello, USU listeners. I am so grateful to be here with you. So honored. I know you have so many choices of podcasts to listen to and things to do, and it's just very grateful to be in your ear today. And I think you're going to love our guest today. I'm so excited to tell you about Michelle Baxo. She is just an amazing woman, and I want to tell you a little bit more about who she is, and you'll get to hear from her yourself too. Michelle Baxo helps high achieving women go from powerless to powerful in every aspect of life, love, and business. Michelle's passion for helping people create the life of their dreams started from her own personal journey from successful but single to empowered and in love. Michelle has been featured in Forbes, and her advice is found in CHCH, Cosmopolitan, and Insider. Michelle has also been interviewed as an expert in countless summits, and her articles have been published in Dreams, Recycled, and Thrive Global. You can find her YouTube channel and her new book, Power Love Dating. We're going to give you the link at the end. I don't have it right now, but we will get that from Michelle so you can get it. Her book, Power Love Dating, we will be talking about. And Michelle is Canadian. She's located in Toronto, Canada, and is available to speak on such topics as empowerment, confidence, self-love and acceptance, dating and relationships, communication, mindset, and online business. And I'm just excited because today we are going to get right into this concept about powerful love. Michelle, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so honored.
Oh, thank you. I love being here. USU, come on. It's delicious stuff.
Well, why don't we start there? I'd love to hear, like, what does that mean to you? How have you evolved into being your USU? I mean, I'm assuming it didn't just like snap your fingers and here you are, like you figured it out. Maybe tell us a little bit about your journey.
That's a really great question. So I've been committed to developing as a human being, I think kind of my own life. You know, some of us just sort of, we find our expression in that. But for me, where things really hit head, I was around 30 years old. I was a school teacher. I lived in Calgary at the time. And all of a sudden, a lot of things started going array all at once. And it was a scary time. I had some scary things happen to me, like weird, creepy, sexual predator stuff go on. My dog started attacking me. I couldn't seem to shed this unhealthy relationship that I was in. I was in a relationship with an alcoholic, and it just like, I kept trying to leave, but I kept going back. And it was just this, and it was almost like the universe was saying to me, like, get a hold of your life, Michelle. And so I did. It took me actually, going into post-traumatic stress disorder, which was, I think, a reaction to everything hitting its head all at once. And then when that one rough thing happened to me, but it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me in my life. And since then, I've learned that when I start listening a little more intently, it doesn't need to get that bad before I have things change my life. But where that incident really led me into personal development. You and I have talked about Landmark. I started taking on my own personal journey with transformational work, with spiritual work, getting in tune with my own intuition, and really just taking action in my life. So I left my teaching career, not because it was awful, but because it just wasn't quite me living my truth. It wasn't it was me doing something that, it was me fitting into a box that seemed very secure and it seemed like a fit, but really wasn't. And so I just, around 30 years old, was like, I'm starting fresh. I'm leaving this relationship. I'm leaving this city. I'm going back home, and I'm going to figure out the kind of difference I really want to make and who I really want to be in this life and in this world. So I continued with my personal development work and ended up actually working for Landmark Worldwide and leading programs for a number of years. But also I decided to start my own private practice in psychotherapy and mind-body healing. So I was committed that people find their whatever they need to live the most delicious life possible. And I wanted to have various tools to help them do that, not just one modality or one, paradigm. I wanted to be eclectic in my studies so that I could, accommodate people and what they need as individuals. So I really came to discover that was a big part of who I am, but it honestly shifts over time. I mean, when I decided to become a mom, like now being the USU now is very different than it was when I was 35, right? So yeah, I could go on, but that gives you a little taste of it, I suppose.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate, like, I think it's helpful for people to hear the journey, and getting, like, teaching was good. It just sounds like it didn't fuel all of you. And so realizing for you really having, this, it almost sounds like a holistic integrative approach is kind of what you wanted to be able to add value. Love to hear, I mean, I want to get into the whole parenting thing and get into like to all of this. I'd love to hear about this concept of power love and what that means in your book and why you wrote that.
Totally. So the part that I didn't say too is part of my next part of my journey. When I decided to become a part of a mom, I realized that what I was doing before could no longer fit into the future I wanted to fulfill. So I left that particular practice, left my work with Landmark to create my own business, bringing together everything I'd learned, and said, what difference can I make? I knew I wanted to make a difference for women. And I knew that an area for me where I'd had the biggest breakthrough that I thought was the unbreakable breakthrough, like the one that just never happens. For me, that was my love life. Not that I wasn't ever in relationships, but they were just never lasting ones or healthy ones. I ended up in a cycle of, okay, well, I guess I'm going to focus on work and just like have some lovers or fool around with my friends sometimes, or it just like wasn't actually what I wanted. But enough of time started going by that I started convincing myself that that's what I did want, because it seemed like that was all I could get. And I noticed that my circumstances and what was showing up was actually changing the way I talked to myself about what I wanted. And at a certain point, someone asked me, okay, Michelle, you've created, you have success in your career. You have this great life. You seem like a pretty happy person. If you were to die, you were to die tomorrow, what would you regret that you didn't have or do or be today? And for me, it was right there. I'm like, that I don't just want any partner and any family. I want that created experience, like to have a relationship with someone where we're co-creating our relationship. And if I'm going to be a mom, I want to redefine what it means to be a mom based on what fits right with me and with my partner. And I want a partner who can have those kinds of conversations with me. And like, there was this thing there was a lot of things that were out there that I didn't want, but there was this thing that I thought I wanted. And I was like, that's what I really want. I just don't think I can get it, because I'm an ambitious, confident, sometimes obnoxious woman who is not willing to dumb it down to make someone else comfortable. So I took it upon myself to build it turned into a program. I called it a project, which is why it's known as Power Love Project. And it was a project for taking committed action. So going on those dates, almost like the masculine, right? Like taking the actions, putting it in the calendar, making it happen, putting a press on myself, but balancing that with the kind of inner work and dealing with my own barriers, like dealing with all that stuff that we know shows up that has us keep people at a distance or has us settle, believe, our self-worth stuff, all of that stuff. Right. And I thought it was so unreasonable to say 4 months I'll find love. And it was 4 weeks, 4 weeks, Julie. And
wow.
Yeah. After like years of BS in my love life, And actually there was another person too, that I honestly could have built an amazing life with, I believe as well. And I was in a position of abundance where I got to choose who do I really want to give it my all with. And so that was to me, not like I needed a relationship. I'm very clear. I don't need a man to be happy, none of that stuff. But for me, that was the breakthrough that I just didn't think was possible, that I got committed to. And so I built a program around my first program as an online entrepreneur and coach, rather than I let go of the counseling and and some of the healing work, and was like, I want to do coaching because then I can use all of it. Then there's no limits on what I do. No college can tell me you're not allowed to say that or do that or whatever. And I define what it means to be a coach. I don't even follow coaching guidelines. I'm like, I have some things I can provide for women. So I spent years working with women around the world, specifically who identify as being like high achieving or powerful, strong, you know, like a modern, awesome woman, right? And so I really was working with them through a program called Power Love Project. And after a few years of doing that, I'm like, I need to make a book of this stuff. It's not the book of the program, but it's a book of like all of the best insights, the best tools, a lot of my own personal story, like the nitty gritty stuff, so that people realize like, yes, even you, yes, even you. And then what was, so this is the book right here. But what was amazing that came out of it, and then I'll stop talking for a sec. But what was amazing that came out of it was people were reading it that weren't even necessarily looking for love, and were like, oh my gosh, there's so much gold in here, because ultimately this is about being your truest you, about living your truth, and what it really takes to take a stand for who you are in a way that's not pushing people away in the world and in your life, but also having that boundaries. So Power of Love is the overlap, or the navigating in between being powerful, like having our personal power, and being unapologetic about that, and also that part of ourselves that's loving and nurturing and caring. So we're honoring both. And that is a very tricky thing for us to do. We usually swing all the way to one, all the way to the other. So Power Love is the exploration of the in between and the overlap of those two.
Oh, I love that. I love how you said that. And I'm thinking of, you know, especially for women, I think this holding, rooted, grounded in that power, that's a healthy, like life-giving, generative power, authentic, innate power, that in itself is its own, I would say, opportunity. And then of course the love piece, it feels very like, I think of the, you know, really weaving in divine masculine, feminine, yin and yang, really weaving in both of those energies, or however you call them. Curious maybe just to talk for a minute about, you know, how do you help women in the power place, you know, owning power, because the models we've seen, especially with men, but not all, some great men and some awesome women. I don't know, there are some great models out there. There's also been some not that great modeling of power. So I'm curious what your take is on, and how do you teach about embodying and connecting to your power?
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing. So there's so much I could probably talk to on it. So let's try to get specific in one particular way. So one place where usually I look at, where do we lose power? And we actually start from there and then kind of go backwards. So a common place we lose power is in our conversations with people, where we actually, so I'll just give a perfect example. I was just on a call with someone who is building her own online business right now. She's this incredible doctor. Like, she's an amazing woman. She's a mother. You know, she's, you know, married to this seemingly wonderful man. I'm sure he's a really great man, but the dynamic that's happened right now is he's kind of like, I don't know why you're doing this thing. It's an inconvenience for him. And she's just like, feels completely diminished. Now, can we blame him? Totally, we can. Is that useful? Not really. So to me, in an example like this, what really stepping into your power looks like is it's a combination between stepping up, being willing to have that conversation, but what that conversation is going to look like is like helping that person understand why you're committed to something, right? Like, listen, and holding that person accountable for who they said they would be for you. Mm-hmm. And we don't like to do that. Like, if you were on this, it would have broken your heart, Jill. If you were on this call with her, you could see as she talked about it, it was like the lips trembling, right? Because there's deep fears that come up when it comes time to actually saying, hey, I don't feel supported here. I don't feel supported. And like, if if this is going to work in my life, because we're a mom, we're co-parent, like I need the support. And also for our relationship, I need the support. And for me, I need the support, so that, and the support is also, and I think part of the perspective that we forget is having those conversations and holding that other person accountable in a way that helps them understand, in a way that, yes, we may have to remind them every single time, every single night when you want to go work on your business at 7:30 p.m., let's say, and you don't really want to, because you want to be with your kids and you want to be with everybody, but like, you're going to say, okay, we had our time together, and you're going to be the one that says, okay, hun, this is your time to support me by being with the kids while I go lead a seminar for inspiring women or whatever it is, right? That's us showing up for ourselves. So you're having other people support you, you're having those tough conversations, but all of that comes from, who are you going to be for yourself to have that happen in a way that's holding people accountable, but not making them wrong, not pushing them away, not, we can be, strong without being ouchy, right? Without digging someone in the ribs with a knife, and being okay with upholding it and reminding and all of those things, even though it's a totally frustrating thing to do. So that's an example, I think, of like what it actually takes in those moments to step into our power, but actually follow through with it. Right.
I love that. I love this. I'm thinking for everyone listening, like to bring it home to you, anyone listening to this, that question you asked, which is so great. You reverse engineer, where have I lost power? Where is there a loss of power in my life or with this person or in this conversation? And then, as you said, what I'm hearing too, it's like, why are you committed to the thing that you're talking about? And really the other piece you said is like, who are you deciding to be for yourself? And choosing that. So I love that whole kind of, looking at the loss of power, so you can kind of see where you want to choose it.
Totally. And I think it's great to do, and if I really look at the work I do with people, we do it from both directions. So I think a really great place to start is whatever the thing that you're up to, whatever that is, creating whys. And I know we hear that a lot. My strategy for it is a little bit more than just, why are you doing this? I like to look at it from 3 angles. So let's say it's your business, or it couldn't even, actually, I did this with women who are on their journey of finding love. I do this with women who are wanting to heal their marriage. I do this with women wanting to start a business. It's all the same. So you do the why for me. Like, so why am I having this tough freaking conversation with my husband that may not go well? Or why am I online again when it's like mostly people ghosting or sending me creepy comments? Why am I putting myself through this? Why am I doing that for me? Right? Why am I doing it for the other person or people? So your clients, or for your family, or for your future partner, or whatever, right? So why for them? And then my message to the world. So that's kind of like, what do you really believe in that has you have your whys be so important? What do you really believe in for women? What do you really believe in? So to me, like, I believe that we should know ourselves, trust ourselves, be ourselves, free ourselves, love ourselves, right? That's what mine is currently right now. Next month, it'll be something different, right? So getting connected to that in a way that really lights me up, that I'm honoring the why for me. And the why for you might be like, because I just want someone to snuggle me at night, or because I want enough money to buy my dream house. Like, it doesn't have to be a martyrdom why for you. The why for them is like, okay, like, I'm doing this work on me. I'm putting myself through the dredges of online dating or relationship counseling, or what I'm doing that for the other person too, so that, because he deserves to have a partner who's confident in herself and can set her own damn boundaries, and like all of those things. So that'd be like a why for the other person. And then message to the world, could be whatever that is for you. So being connected to that is really important. Helping other people understand that, not needing them to get it, but helping them understand it, so there's context for your passion, for your drive, for your actions. And then you got to look, where am I either not seeing results? Where do I feel totally defeated or resigned, right? Or stuck or stagnant or stale? Those are all symptoms of having a loss of power.
Yeah, this is really, I love this. And do you work mainly with women in around relationships, and in life as well? But I would think like dating, calling in that person, is that your main target,
It's a
Michelle?
good question. So really it's yes, relationships always come up. So sometimes people come to me because they're like, I need to make a change in my love life or in my relationship. Sometimes they come to me because they already recognize what, no matter what, maybe they have their relationship things. Ultimately, the work we're doing is your relationship with yourself. And then there's symptoms of that show up all over the place, right? So so it all depends on what people, where people are feeling the pain. Sometimes we feel it like, oh, I just feel, you know, my confidence is lacking, or I have this goal and I know I need to do the inner work. Or people are focused on the symptom, like, why does it seem like there's no good men out there? Or why is my husband not support, you know, why do I not want to have sex with my husband anymore? Right.
Right.
Either direction, we all come to the same point, and it's all around being that power love woman, connecting the two parts of us and learning how to navigate whatever the goals are from that place, right? Which is tricky, which is why I don't do like a formula anymore. There's distinctions, there's concepts, there's places to stand. I always say you got to be two-headed about almost everything. And then there's in life navigating it, because life is not like a pretty box that once you decorate, it's done. Right? Like it keeps changing on us, and we keep changing, and the factors are changing, right? So it's a lot of navigating is the work that I do. Yeah.
I love it. Well, I'm thinking of those in the community, or anyone listening, whether it could be you're in a relationship now, marriage, partnership, or looking. I've heard so many, I know many amazing women, friends of mine actually, that are, there are no good men out there. I'm like, oh, just good to know. Like you serve a lot of different types of women.
Totally.
It's interesting when you're talking about this power conversation, the why for me, why for that person, why for the world, is kind of the way I heard it. That's been one of the most powerful ways I know for me. And I'm just going to ask anyone listening really to look at anything you want to commit to do those questions. I know that has helped me overcome fear, imposters, and all of that, because it kind of, when you get that, especially for me, sure, but for the world, at least that's helped me. It's like that has allowed me to overcome a lot of those feelings. And I think even to your client who had that tough conversation, probably her why is this important to the greater community or world, that might help her to really get why that's important to have that conversation, to be that lights the passion. I love what we're talking about. I want to talk about the love piece now, like how, because we talked about the power, and I love these different tools. So for someone, you know, I don't know, but I'm guessing in the area of self-love and compassion and the whole topic of love, how do you help someone that's really struggling in that area?
Yeah, because often what we do is we get reactive, like we get reactive. That's like part of the being a human being, right?
Exactly. I was like, yep.
And swing to the extreme. So for instance, and I'm sure we can all relate to this at different parts of our lives, if we're like, you know what, I'm just going to be me. And then we go out into the world, we have the courage to just be me. And then someone doesn't like it, or someone doesn't, or I'm going to set a boundary, and it's going to be a firm boundary. And then someone crosses it. And what we often do in those times, because what we don't recognize is actually even being powerful is vulnerable. And that's a place where power and love overlap. We've actually exposed our hearts when we step into our power, when we, you know, it's vulnerable. So that's an example of an overlap. But what happens is if that gets wounded or threatened in any kind of way, what we often do is we shut down the heart. We put up a wall. And so I'm, you know, or it's like a wall, or it's armor. It's a way that people can't get to you, so that they can't hurt you again, or so that you feel. And what's tricky about it is it's not like armor is bad and walls aren't bad, right? And they do give us a sense of strength. Like if you really need to focus on something for a little bit and you cut everything out, like that might be a really great strategy to get some shit done, like on that particular week, right? But unfortunately, some of these really great tools that we have, we apply them in the wrong places, and then it produces the opposite of what we want in our lives. So I think we can all agree that we like to be connected to other human beings. We all the time, I hear people saying, like, in their truth, they want to feel known, they want to feel heard, they want to feel connected to at least another human being, right? Ideally more than one, but like at least another one. And so I would say probably the most powerful access to love is telling the truth to ourselves about how important that actually is to us. So, and noticing when we want to just retreat, when we want to just take ourselves away, when we want, and again, they're so intertwined, right? They really aren't separate. So a common thing, so we talked a little bit about boundaries before, so this is very relevant here too. So what can happen is, so let's say in relationships, because this is just something that comes up for us a lot, right? So let's say in relationships, you lose yourself in a relationship. Maybe you over accommodated, or you have this pleasing tendency in a relationship, which starts out really great because it makes the other person happy. You're happy to do it, but then over time, you start actually losing who you are because you've put so much energy into accommodating and pleasing. That over time can become incredibly damaging to your relationship with yourself, which is why often we lose our sex drive, which is why we no longer feel connected to the other person. We don't even know what we want anymore. Someone says, "What do you want for dinner?" We're like, "I don't even know." Right. You know, like I don't, you know, and so when that starts, so that happens, and many of us, I think, you know, by the time we're 30, I think all of us have experienced that at least once in some sort of way.
I think that's fair to say. Yeah.
And so what can happen is then we do this work on ourselves, and we maybe do even develop a nice loving relationship with ourselves, and we step into our power, and we start doing that. But then what happens is we get really afraid of losing it again. And so it's interesting because this whole idea of power and love are so intertwined. So one of the things that has us be afraid that we'll lose it again is we're afraid that when we fall in love again, or when someone, you know, if someone narcissistic walks into town or whatever it is, that we will give all of that away again. So actually what feels like power, which would be like boundaries, sort of has like a more power flavor to it, right? Because I'm setting a boundary. What feels like power is actually quite loving, because it's honoring of ourselves. It's actually honoring the other person too, because it's giving them it's teaching them how to win with you. It's teaching them how you're going to not fall out of love with them. It's teaching them on whether or not you're a match for them or not in the long run, right? Like there's a lot of loving things about that in the act of boundaries. But what we often do is we do the walls, which is very cold, very icy, I wouldn't even call that powerful. I would call that fearful, but it kind of looks like we think it's power, but really it's fear, right? So that's often, and you know, there's other things too. I'm a huge advocate of us taking time. It doesn't have to be a lot. Some people will meditate or do intensive morning rituals. I remember before having children when I could do that too, you know, and maybe once my daughter's in school, maybe that'll be more possible. I don't think so. I don't know. But we can all spend a little bit of time. We can all find 10, 15 minutes. It means making it a rule. It means making it a non-negotiable. So there's the power, but then the love is in sitting on the floor or outside or wherever, just connecting. And I would say you decide what you connect to. You could connect to the feeling of love. You could connect to God if that's your path to do so, or the universe. You could connect to your guides. You could connect to your inner wisdom. But it's not like an in order to. So you can't go into it being like, I'm going to connect to myself so I know the right next thing to do, or so that I know blah, 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 blah. No, this time is just experiencing, just connecting. And so something I do, so I connect to God, universe, whatever you want to call it. And I give myself permission to just fully feel supported by the universe. And I sit in the feeling of being supported. Sometimes that's a visualization of literally being cradled like a baby in someone else's arms. Sometimes it feels like being spooned. Sometimes it's just like warm sunshine around me. But I sit in for a few minutes a day being supported. Because for me, I know that's a place where I'll go when things don't go my way, or somebody crosses a boundary, or somebody forgets, and I'm like, nobody supports me. Right. So I'm like, I'm like, no, I'm all good. I am supported. And then it gives me that love that I was craving, so that I'm not craving it from anyone else. I have it already. And then I also ask for what I need.
That's great. That's so, it's powerful. It's powerful love, Michelle.
Yeah, right? I know.
Love. I love
Sweep
it.
the nation with power love.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I think, well, I'm thinking for those you work with and those, I mean, I certainly fit in that category and have so many in my world as well as high overachieving women and people. The whole idea of sitting for the sake of just connecting, I think can take something versus I'm going to do this so I can. It's the if then, and I think what you're saying is we're taking out the if and the then. It's just the if you sit, that's it. Just sit and connect and feel.
It is challenging. You know, another thing that I have in my calendar now, so you can hear there's like the structure of it. It's in my calendar to make sure I do it. Excuse me. But literally, is it okay? Do you mind if I swear? Are we swear friendly here?
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Okay.
It's totally
so
good.
Literally in my calendar on Sundays at 1 p.m., because that's when my daughter naps. But on Sundays, 1 p.m., it says, chill the fuck out. And so that's not meditation time. That's not read a self-development book time. That's not social media time. That's not anything except for chilling the fuck out. So once a week I commit. Now it doesn't mean I won't ever relax any other time, but this is a non-negotiable time where I sit by the pool or I go for a walk and I practice just like being chill and not being like, go, right? Because I like, for me, my extremes, I can either be a wonderfully powerful action taker, or the other extreme is I go completely lazy and I could watch movies and eat pizza all day. Like I would be tickled pink, but then miserable if I did that. Right. And so this is a part for me of, okay, like, can I actually relax and chill out in a way that nurtures me and feels good, where I'm not just slipping away into the depths of social media, because that doesn't make me feel good after. But why I'm bringing this up is because your comment to that it's really challenging. I remember distinctly the first time I did this, wasn't that long ago. It was like the start of the warm season. I was sitting by the pool and I was like, I got to go. And I went and grabbed a book that I felt like I should be reading, but it wasn't like a pleasure book. It was like an order to book. Right. And then I was like, no, Michelle, geez, my gosh. I was like, I should write a list of all the things that I need to do. Michelle, whoa. I was like, I should go. And I just had this and I had to keep going. All of those things, sure. Maybe write down the things that are on your mind to just but deal with that after. This is your one time this week to just chill. And I'm not saying don't read a book during those things, but like for just purely for the joy of it, to have some time you do. And that does not come naturally to all of us. It certainly, as an entrepreneur, does not, because entrepreneur, you're like, grab every extra moment you can, right? And, so yeah, it's challenging to do those things, and challenging to meditate or just be an experience without intention that's why I only do it for so many minutes. Personally, it wouldn't work for me to do that for an hour. I would feel too unproductive, or I don't know. It just wouldn't work for me. It might work for someone else. So you kind of got to figure out yourself too and what works for you. But I do really believe those two things, to find your version of that, to unhinge from the that just default pattern
Yeah.
cycle that we found ourselves in, which works for some things. I just think it's just a really, because at the end of the day, we also want to know that we enjoyed our lives. We are better in relationships when we unhinge, when we get present, when we take a breath, right? Yeah. We're afraid of letting go of control, which is why we don't do those things.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I relate 100%. I'm very similar. And I think you can even, there's so many, I'm thinking like all the different assessments you can take that show, oh my God, I am really a high achiever, overachiever. Like, and that's not always a good thing at all, actually.
Yeah. There's
And
pros and cons, right? Pros and cons.
yeah,
Yeah.
pros and cons. But no, I think for me, actually, it's shown up in my body, and it's shown up with adrenal fatigue and autoimmune
Oh
conditions.
yeah.
So what you're saying, and I know others that are listening, and maybe for you too, like at this point, it's like, it's a non-negotiable. And I love what you're saying. The whole, chill the fuck out, like give yourself,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no, I have to schedule that in as well. And then literally only things that feel fun and life-giving.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that. I'm thinking if you're listening, like, and you relate to this, like schedule a time when you can do what Michelle's saying, like literally offline, take yourself offline only if it feels good, feels relaxing.
And it might not feel good at first doing it. And I think that's just the thing to be
Yeah.
aware of, because it's such like an unfamiliar pattern.
Yeah.
And so, it doesn't have to be the same thing every time. It could be a bike ride one day, it could be sit in the sun another day, it could be, I don't know, right? Some, could be have sex another time. I don't know, but it's got to be for you. It's got to be for you, your joy. Right.
Exactly. I love this conversation. I feel like there's so many little juicy tidbits. The way, before we wrap, the way I like to end is I call them heart flares, where you have this, like, my heart just, we didn't say this, right? This is still on my heart to say something. And so I'm just curious if there's anything either I didn't ask you or something on your heart, on your mind that you want to share with the USU community and beyond.
Yeah, I'm just looking up at the most recent why that I created. That's why if you look at me looking up there.
Yeah, I love it.
And I think just something that's really important for us, if there's like one thing I want to leave people with, is we have actually been conditioned, whether we've done self-conditioning or from external, we've been conditioned to be super hard on ourselves. And we've come so far as women. It's freaking in a short period of time, we've come so far as women.
Yeah. We've
got ourselves a little bit in a trap here where we're super hard on ourselves, but actually, while it feels like we're getting more powerful from that, it's actually deflating our sense of self, because all we're seeing is what we're not doing. All we're seeing is what we haven't achieved yet. Or like, there's just this like not enough feeling, because we're trying to do so much, which is amazing. And I think it's really time for us to remember who we are and who we want to be, because we get to have a say in that too. And I just think that, like, when we do get quiet, we know the things that are really important to us, and then we can look at our lives and see what's consistent with that and what's not. And some people need help doing that, and some people don't, and just like get whatever you need, so that at the end of our lives, if we're not aligned with what really matters to us, we have wasted our lives. And so that's probably that it took me a bit to get to the sentence for you, Julie. If we're not aligned with what's really important to us, if what we're doing, what we're saying, what we're thinking is not in alignment with that, then we are literally wasting our lives. We will regret it at the end. So what else is more important than that? I don't know. Right. And that has a ripple on everything.
Yeah, beautifully said. I love what you said. It's really, what I got is to stop being so hard on yourself and like look at what is going well, what you are doing, but really aligning with what matters.
Yeah. Because it's not just that one thing you're hard on yourself. There's something about that matters, but there's also a quality to your experience. And
right.
I don't know. Yeah. I just love people so much. And if only we could give ourselves the grace with the commitment. I just think that's where the magic is.
I love how you said that. I'm with you on that. Michelle, where can we find you? Because I know people are going to want to.
Yeah. So, I mean, my website, michellebaxo.com, pretty easy to remember. You know, that's definitely a place that you can go. And there's a little freebie that pops up when you go there. I also have a Facebook group where I run pretty regularly little trainings or workshops, or I invite people to them there. That is called Empowered Women, the place for women who give a shit about being empowered. That's the full name of it. And so that's actually a relatively new space that's really exciting. Just a lot of amazing women there who give a shit about being empowered. So we do different work in there. So those are the two places I would recommend people go.
I love it. That's such a great title. Oh my God. It has been just it's so lovely, so heartwarming to talk to you. It's been really, really, really powerful. A lot of love. I'm so thankful that we got to share you today, and thank you for your time and just.
Oh yeah, I love it. Thank you for being, and thank you everyone just for being that like-minded person, right? Like we got to all connect and keep talking about this stuff because it's, you know, I think it's the next part of our movement as women. I really do believe that. So thank you for your stand for women to be the USDU. It's just so important.
Oh, thank you. Well, I want to thank you, Michelle, and I want to thank everybody that tuned in today. And of course, Michelle left her information, michellebaxo.com. We will have everything in the show notes. And I just sending love, blessings to each of you, and Michelle to you, and just so thankful that we could convene today. And this is an important message. We really, I think, need to hear this right now, and just grateful for you.
Awesome.